Josh Seiter has come out swinging against gender ideology.
The whole idea of postmodern gender ideology is ridiculous and absurd. I think a lot of trans women are turned on at the thought of themselves being women. It doesn't magically make them women.
But if this was an act,
hey everyone,
is his defense of real women an act too?
Yeah. Jimmy, are you identifying as a woman today?
No, he's identifying as an idiot.
Are you identifying as a woman today because you're being airheaded?
That's sexist.
Hi everyone. So, Josh Seiter, famous from the reality show The Bachelorette and who came out as trans in May this year, has just come out to say that, surprise, surprise, it was all fake.
Oh yes, I'm the great pretender.
Or, as he says, a social online experiment.
For the last 5 months, I've been conducting a social experiment online to expose how gullible and how delusional the left is.
There's more to it than just the left, but he's very much coming at this from an American left versus right perspective.
The whole idea of postmodern gender ideology is ridiculous and absurd, and I tried to be the most extreme version of it and take it to its logical end to show how ridiculous it is that people can actually believe that biological men are magically transformed into women because they are having a gender crisis. So what I did was I faked being a faker. I pretended to be a pretender.
So he was a man pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. There's a lot of them these days.
Day 3 of being a girl, and I've already become a bimbo.
If you look at me and you see a man, that's your transphobia.
Trans women getting pregnant is not as far off as you'd think.
This is what a woman looks like.
But many people knew that Josh was actually just trolling those guys.
This is a social experiment. Somebody else said this has got to be fake.
He is claiming that he's a woman, but some believe it's all a big troll. Look at this guy. It's unbelievable.
Maria, a Dutch detransitioner, posted this video in July. She's fairly new to YouTube and on her way to reach 1,000 subscribers. I'll link her channel below so you can help her get there and give her something to celebrate. The other day, Josh went on the Alex Stein show to do a reverse Bruce Jenner. You know, Bruce went on the day and saw your show, finally let his hair down.
So can I take my ponytail out? Yeah, why not, huh? Yeah, let's take the damn ponytail out.
And told the world,
for all intents and purposes, I am a woman.
While Josh removed his makeup, dropped his trans scarf, and came clean. And he doesn't mince his words.
You can do whatever you want, but don't make your fetish my truth.
I agree with most of the things he says, but I have 3 main questions. 1, is he actually serious about this and in it for the long run? Or is he just trying to have a go with the left to promote himself? 2, does he think that some people are actually trans, and what does that mean? And 3, will his experiment make any difference? Before we dive in, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to get to 30k. Might be a bit ambitious, but hit that subscribe button and who knows, we can make it happen. And of course, please like and leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, just say 30k. Okay, let's go. 1, is Josh serious about this? I don't really know too much about this guy. I know he did a big reality show called The Bachelorette in 2015, and then he made quite a bit of money on OnlyFans. He's also a mental health advocate, has a degree in law with a major in sociology. And then in May, he came out as trans to take the piss out of all this gender crap and have a pop at the left. And he did so pretty well because he used many of the main trans talking points. For example, that women can have penises.
It's especially important that we have clothes that fit our large appendages.
Just like Dylan Mulvaney.
Women can have bulges and that's okay.
That trans women can have beards.
Some of us have facial hair.
Just like Alex Drummond.
So you're curious about the beard hat? It kind of deconstructs gender, it queers gender.
That men can be lesbians.
Now that I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian.
Just like these guys.
I am a trans lesbian.
How does my trans identity align with me being a lesbian?
Why can't I be a member of this lesbian group? Why do I have to be born cisgender female in order to be part of their group?
Now, Alex Stein's channel isn't exactly intellectual highbrow stuff. I mean, their merch is about Latinas with big bums. But from the conversation, and also a chat that he had with Sal Grover, it does look like he's done some homework. He highlighted some very important points, like men in women's prisons.
When I think of Kamala, I think of using taxpayer dollars for gender transition surgeries in prison for men who are housed with women.
When I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
One case in particular that Josh mentioned was that of John Jacobson Jr., who now goes by Skylar DeLeon. He killed a couple so he could use their money to have his dick surgically inverted. He was put in prison, and then the prison did it for him for free. He's now about to be transferred to a women's prison. When speaking to Sal, Josh also mentioned Redux, the online website that regularly reports on men, including rapists, being placed in women's prisons.
I'm in a woman's prison with bars all around.
And he knows it's not just about prisons, but about women-only spaces in general.
I think it's a serious issue because there are vulnerable women in places that have historically been safe spaces for women, and they're slowly being erased by the left and the woke mob. And so I think it's interesting that the left, which loves to preach about women's rights and feminism, is slowly erasing women and putting them in compromising positions in bathrooms and prisons.
He also mentions what's happening in schools.
When you see the things people are being taught, there's actually tests now asking kids if a man can become a woman, and just these very loaded questions about gender. The public schools are very anti-science, anti-anatomy, anti-biology, and I think it's pathetic and it's a joke.
Again, this is true. I did a video a few months ago about how gender is being embedded across the curriculum in primary schools, even in nursing schools, and how pride is being celebrated all year round. He also talks about drag queens in schools, kids being transitioned, and AGPs.
Autogynephilia is when men are turned on at the thought of themselves being women. And I think a lot of trans women are turned on at the thought of themselves being women. Guess what? It doesn't magically make them women. It doesn't mean we have to accept that they're women.
Women's sports is only mentioned briefly, but overall he does seem to have quite a good grasp of the issues. They don't really talk about how this stuff affects gays and lesbians, so that's a bit but they do have gay water. Josh also had a chat with Sal Grover, and overall he seems to be informed and pretty consistent. And Sal also pointed out the following.
I'll tell you when I went, definitely you're trolling. You never filmed from inside a female-only space. Like you never, like you would say, I'm at the gym and I've just used the women's bathroom, but you were never in it.
Absolutely. I would do nothing to disrespect women in the way in which trans-identified men disrespect women. I will never go inside a woman's bathroom. I will never go around a child or make children feel uncomfortable like they do.
So, brownie points for Josh. Or does he simply know what to say to wrap us around his finger?
And I love J.K. Rowling.
Okay, he makes it sound like he's here to champion real women.
Hopefully what I did kind of helped give a voice to those people who are so often overlooked by the medical community and overlooked by the media. And the people I'm talking about are real biological women.
But what does he actually think of women? Check out this little quip.
Yeah. Jimmy, are you identifying as a woman today?
No, he's identifying as an idiot.
Are you identifying as a woman today because you're being airheaded?
That's sexist.
Nice. And this is how he responds to women on Twitter who, ever so gently and ever so politely challenge him a little bit. I appreciate what you did massively, although I find it odd that you're being interviewed by the big-time misogynist Tate brothers. I don't hate you for it, I just find it odd. Listen to my message in interviews and stop obsessing over distractions, weirdo. And when another woman goes, why are you calling her a weirdo? He says, you dimwit. I lost money and foot the bill for 6 months of filming and traveling for this experiment. Are you mentally compromised? Are these his true colors coming through? And while he goes all hard on calling trans people fakers and actors, he also says this.
The fact that people can't tell the difference between absurd humor and authentic trans people.
What does he mean by authentic trans people? Is he a true trans believer? After all, that brings us to question 2. Does he think that some people are actually trans? So far, it seems that Josh is ticking quite a few boxes, but then he also ticked all the trans boxes. Although, admittedly, those are probably the easiest boxes to tick. And I know that this can be quite a bit of a journey and we should give people a chance, but at the same time, I don't think we should go too easy on people either. When he talks about trans people, he's pretty direct. He calls them fakers, actors, and pretenders.
I think any trans person is an incredible actor. They're all pretending to be something they're not.
This is how he responded to a clip of Buck Angel.
To answer that question from an actual transsexual person,
an actual
I would
transsexual,
say no. In my
faker.
opinion, no.
And when Buck says,
it does not reflect what an actual real transsexual person is.
A real pretender.
So this might make him seem more gung-ho about, there's no such thing as trans, they're all pretenders. What does he mean by authentic trans people?
Authentic trans people. What's authentic and real is that they suffer from a diagnosable mental illness under the DSM-5.
For now.
Called gender dysphoria, and they deserve help and compassion for that mental illness.
But what does that look like?
Instead of giving them hormones, they need help. And especially as pertains to young children, it's even more egregious what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're confusing these people, they're exacerbating the gender dysphoria and the situations they find themselves in, and I think that's reprehensible.
I agree, and I think there's a whole ethical side to consider when it comes to these medical interventions, also for adults, particularly those with very serious issues.
That's all I want.
I'm a straight white dude.
It's a sex change.
I think there's more to it than that. But,
that's all it is. Mark, that's all it is.
I just don't know that that's the solution to all your problems.
It is the solution.
We know from the WPATH files that there are therapists who would refer a guy like this, no matter if he's homeless or mentally ill, for genital surgery. One thing I do find jarring about Josh is that on the one hand he's so clear about pointing out the erasure of women at the hands of men proclaiming to be women.
Dylan Mulvaney's just a great example that you can erase women, be disrespectful towards women, set back the feminist movement 60 years, and the woke mob will still celebrate you.
And repeatedly points out that so much of this is about semantical games.
They play this semantical game of verbal legerdemain. It's just a patchwork of meaningless nonsense to the point that it renders the meaning of trans meaningless and the meaning of woman meaningless.
Yet he automatically calls Dylan Mulvaney she, her.
The difference between me and Dylan Mulvaney is she's liberal, and I think what she did is absolutely terrible for women, it's terrible for humanity, and it's making a mockery of women, and the fact that she's celebrated by the media is disgusting.
One of the guys on the show picks him up on that.
I got to interrupt. Josh, why do you call Dylan Mulvaney a she?
Yeah, I know. I was noticing that too.
Well, it's a man and woman face, but for simplicity's sake, I just say she.
Yeah. I think it's simpler to call Dylan Mulvaney a man because Dylan Mulvaney's a man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you could. I'm not a word Nazi. I'm not a word Nazi.
Calling a man does not make you a Nazi. That's a TRA argument.
But seriously, because if he's going to do these extreme, but you won't even misgender Dylan Mulvaney.
This is an excellent point. If you consider Dylan Mulvaney to be one of the worst offenders of erasing women, why would you refer to him as if he was a woman? Why?
I think that's a fair point.
We don't misgender on this show because we're on YouTube.
And that shows you that the real word Nazis are the social media platforms. Anyways, let's look at question 3. Has his social experiment made any difference? I think it's tempting to get excited about things like this, especially when you have a guy who's got nearly 1 million followers on Instagram. But the more I look at this, the more I think, was this really a successful stunt if nobody took it serious in the first place? And all that the other side is gonna say, well, see? That's exactly what we mean. We're the real trans people. He was a fake. Duh. That's the difference. We're the real ones.
An actual transsexual.
And if anything, Josh kind of showed that yes, it is possible to tell the fake fakers from the real fakers. The real problem is, of course, that the law does not distinguish between the real fakers and the fake fakers. especially in those places where you no longer need to have any kind of diagnosis or have been on any treatment to be legally granted the status of woman when you're a man. Now, he does have a huge platform. His videos have been seen by lots of people, so hopefully he will have piqued a few more. But was it really
one of the greatest social experiments of our modern internet age?
No. And I don't want to piss on his parade too much, but it's not like he's saying anything new. Many people, particularly women, have been saying these things for years. So what's next for Josh?
I'd love to, debate anyone, anywhere, at any time about anything related to this or anything else political. I hope to go on podcasts and shows, and I hope to have many rigorous, robust debates with people in the future about these topics.
Whether this is actually about him pushing back against the erasure of women, or whether it's more a case of look at me, time will tell. Looking at his past, he does seem to go from one thing to another to get attention. Going on The Bachelorette and getting booted off in week 1. Announcing he was bi and getting married to a man. That never happened. A fake death hoax. Getting fed for pay on OnlyFans. Then the whole fake trans thing. And now supposedly a TERF ally. All in all, I guess what I'm saying is, if this has helped to pique some people, good, but let's not get our hopes up too high too soon. Anyways, what do you think? Do you think that Josh is really onto something? Do you think he's breaking new ground? Do you think he's just in it for himself? Do you think he's somewhere in the middle? Who knows? Let me know what you think, and I will leave you with this. Now, if only the rest of them would admit it's all ridiculous. That's all from me for now. I'm gonna get cracking with a Halloween video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my PayPal and Patreon supporters. Because of you, I can make videos like this. Special shout out to my big spenders. Help her open, Mama TERF and the Turventines, me Julie, the lovely Mary, Julia, Dusty, Judels, Leffy, Dorothy, Wildfire, Esther, and Martha. Thank you.